Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
Now, Workday Security Groups has already told that Workday application data is accessible only through the configurable security structure that is enforced by the Workday Object Management System. As such, no Workday user can view data that is not granted with his or her security group. No one can authorize or no one can view any kind of data that doesn't have the security to view that particular thing. If we are not like the security group that Jacqueline is having now doesn't have the authority to view that. Edit tenant setup task. So we can only view the data that for which we are granted the access. With Workday, you can configure which security groups and roles participate in a business process and which security groups can grant access to task and report. We are going to create the respective security groups. We are going to look deep into few of the security groups, what they meant, and how we are going to create them. We are going to assign them. Security acts as a bridge between the Workday, own metadata and customer, own tenant data to access to functionality. What does this mean? Workday has given you the tenant. It has all your payroll access and everything. But what customer wants is if a person doesn't have access to view the salary of the employee or the compensation of the employee. So see Workday, own metadata and customer, owned metadata. What they meant by this is see Workday has provided you the customer, the tenant, full tenant. They have provided it. This is the tenant that you have. And the client also have payroll implemented, payroll supported in that particular tenant. Now, if I am a recruitment consultant, I shouldn't have access for the payroll sensitive data that a payroll consultant has. Recruitment consultant shouldn't have access to any payroll sensitive data. They shouldn't view what is the SSN number of the particular employees. Because only a payroll consultant can view that should have access to view that SSN number. It's a PI information, personal information for an employee. So that's what here comes the concept of security groups. So security groups and security policies are in the customer or tenant realm with little developer involvement. Domains reside in the metadata realm and are not configurable by the customers. We have seen it. Yesterday, we have seen it clearly when we were looking into the termination and change job business process template. We cannot change the various domains or the domains that are being defined for the business process. We can only edit the security. That is, domains is something that is being released by Workday itself. We don't have any security or any access to edit the domains. It's all delivered by Workday. We can only configure their security, whether they should have a view access or they should have a edit access. Domains means we will go through the domains definition as well. You will get the clear concept of the domains. So as of now, just remember we cannot change the domains. It is delivered by Workday itself. It's non-configurable by the customers. Now, what do you mean by security group? We have been saying this word from the start. Security group, security group. What do you mean by security group? Security group represents one or more workers with similar access and modification needs. Group itself. Group word will tell us that it's one or more persons, or one or more persons that are in a single name, that we give a single name to them. That's group. So anywhere you see one or more person, you will say that it's a group of 4 to 5 persons. So it's a group of persons. So now what security group represents is one or more workers that needs to have similar access within the system. For example, all the managers in the organization will have the similar access. They can have car allowance, or they can approve the hire, or they can initiate the hire. So all the employees that are under the manager will have the same similar access or modification access. So that's what security group represents. Just learn the terminology. Sometimes they will ask you, what do you mean by security group? You have worked on security, then what do you mean by security? Because definitely as a Workday HCM consultant, you are going to mention it in your resume as well. That I have worked on the creations of the security groups, or I have modified the security policies. I have modified the business process security policies. So in that they can straightforward ask you the first question, if you have worked on the security, then tell me the basic. What do you mean by security group? So security group represents one or more workers with similar access and modification needs, such as HR partner or manager or compensation partner or security admin, anyone. Security policies. What do you mean by security policies? Details the report, fees, tasks and views that the security group can access or modify. What we are going to modify and whether we can view it or only. We can only view it or we can modify it as well. So everything we will be defining it under the security policies. There are two types of security policies, domain security policy and business process security policies. So what do you mean by business process security policies? See there, when you are creating the steps like we were yesterday on our itself. We have created change organization assignments, correct? In our higher business process, we have entered change organization assignments, or in our change job, somewhere we have inserted that particular task. So in that you see that when you are clicking on the security group of that particular step, proposed compensation, I'll stick. Proposed compensation hire is the step or the task that we have added in our higher business process. So for those that propose compensation hire, you see that we can only enter certain security groups like HR partner or HR admin or manager or something like that. There, when you click under the security group, you can see that the security group that are allowed for this task. So somewhere definitely those security group must be added. That's why you are able to view those security group in that particular task, correct? Am I clear? Remember in your business process, when you have added any step or proposed, for example, proposed compensation, hiring or higher business process. So for proposed compensation, how you see that there are few security groups that are allowed for that particular step, manager or HR partner, HR admin. So from where those security group has come up? When we require the business process security policy, from there it will come into picture. We will look how we are going to create those groups and how we are going to assign it to the business process security policy. Now domain security policy, it's simple. We cannot add the domains, but yes, we can edit the security policy for the domain securities as well. Domain security policy means collection of the secureable items, defines who can see task views and report fields that a group can have access to. Yesterday, we have seen it for the template. Now, we will see it in the business process template. We will directly go ahead and try to edit there also, and we will also try to add in few of the functional areas. Before that, we should know what all security groups we have to create. Coming to the security groups, types of security groups. So most common configurable security groups that comes into picture are two types of security groups, that is role-based and user-based. So always remember role-based will be assigned to the positions, not to the worker. The name itself tells you the same role-based security group. That means it's going to be assigned to a position, or we can assign it to an organization. There the positions will be created. Automatically the position will be taking those role-based assignments. Access. This constraint based on the organizations the role supports. Because we are going to assign it on the positions and where we are creating the positions in our organization. We have created the positions. So access this constraint based on the organization. Definitely if I have assigned HR partner Logan Steve Morgan, let me take an example. Steve Morgan as an HR partner, then she will behave as a HR partner of that particular organization only. Not for all the organization that is existing in the system. So that means constraint access she's having. So it is, these role-based security groups will be inherited from the superior supervisory organization if not assigned. I have already told you, if you are assigning business processes to your top most supervisory organization, if you are assigning roles to your top most supervisory organization, if you are assigning location, all the things that you are assigning at your top most superior organization, top most supervisory organization, it will be inherited by your subordinates. Whether it's going to be location, whether it's going to be roles, it's going to be security groups, it's going to be staffing model, anything until and unless you have manually changed anything for your subordinates. Your manual intervention will come into picture, will be taken into priority over the inheritance. Always remember, if you have manually updated anything for your subordinates, then inheritance will be broken. Then it won't be inherited to the subordinates. Now there comes user-based security group. Remember, in your activity 2, you have assigned security administrator group to your profile. Assign user-based security groups. So that means if you are going to create any user-based security group, it will be assigned directly to a worker. I want to provide special access to Ankitra. Then I will create user-based security groups on the requirement that has been given to the client. I will create a security group and I will directly assign it to that particular worker. But if I am assigning the user-based security group to that worker, does this mean that need to be constrained for a particular organization? It's going to be unconstrained. That means it can have access to whatever that particular user-based security group is authorized to do so. It won't be limited to a single organization. So role-based security group are going to be a constrained one and user-based are going to be unconstrained security groups. User-based security groups won't be inherited. If I am the manager of, we can say that Praveena, and Kita is the manager of Praveena. Praveena belongs to my subordinates. It won't be inherited to my subordinates. Because it's a user-based security group. Role-based is inherited, but user-based is not inherited. You will have a lot of questions based on the security groups. That's why I am taking more time on discussing these two. And believe me, these two security groups are the basic soul of your security classes. It seems to be easy, but yes, they will modify questions around these security groups only. Even I have faced multiple questions regarding these two security groups. Security is applicable to all the modules. Whether it's going to be any advanced module as well, payroll or time tracking or absence everywhere, security, business process, these are common for all. Everyone will have their own security groups. Their own, but the security groups will be of these kinds only. Either role-based, user-based or organization, or job-based or rule-based security groups that we are going to look into our further classes. If I am having any role-based, it won't be inherited by my subordinates. It's role-based. It's not worker-based. So it will be inherited by my subordinate organization, not by the worker. It's not directly tied to the worker. Role-based is not directly tied to me. If I am the supervisor, what my organization has the manager, the same. If the manager is there, for example, what I'm trying to say is role-based. Let's take an example. Ankita Corporation is there, Ankita Executive is there, subordinate. And Ankita Corporation, that is the superior, and I am the manager of Praveena. She belongs to Ankita Executive. Now what is going to be the role-based security group? HR partner of Ankita Corporation is, for example, HR partner of Ankita Corporation is Steve Morgan. Because HR partner is the role-based security group based on the roles that are being performed. So HR partner of Ankita Corporation is Steve Morgan. Then for the executive also, the HR partner will be Steve Morgan. But what about user-based security group? User-based security group means if I have assigned security administrator to Ankita, then that user-based security group, that means security administrator. Praveena is not going to be the security administrator. That won't be inherited by Praveena. So that is the difference between the role-based and user-based. Role-based will be assigned to the positions, directly to the organization, to the positions, not to the workers. So that's why you cannot say that if I am going to assign any role to Ankita, it will be inherited by the Praveena because she is my subordinate. User-based security groups are not inherited, but role-based security groups are inherited. So role-based, just go by the word itself. Role-based means assigned to the positions or the roles of the organization. We can say that assigned directly to the position. So if you want, you can make note of these. Role-based is manually assigned to an organization assigned to a position's access. Response frame based on the organization's the role supports inherited from the superior supervisory organization if not assigned. Whereas the user-based is assigned to the users based on administrative responsibility assigned directly to a worker, access is unconstrained and non-inheritable. Always remember this. They will confuse you, the interviewers will confuse you around these 4 points only. I can say that. These are the four points. Just remember this. If they ask any question regarding those security groups, for example, this is HR partner. An HR partner wants to look into the organization that is not the subordinate of the organization that he is assigned to. So whether he can look on the access of that. Your straightforward answer is no, because it is inherited. He cannot look into it is constrained. He cannot look into the other organization's data because he is the HR partner of the organization that he is assigned to. Because it is constrained. It is based on the organization. Your answer should be like this. So they will just modify the questions around these 4 points only. For example, if I am security administrator, someone has assigned me. The security administrator is the user-based security group, and someone has assigned and get the security administrator group. Now I am the security administrator because it's user-based. I am the security administrator to all of the organization. It's unconstrained. I have full access. Regarding to that specific role, security administrator, what Ankit can do it. The moment I got that security administrator group is the moment I got that I can assign or remove roles from any organization within my tenant. I have unconstrained access. It's not only for a specific organization only. I can remove that if you are going to specifically create any. It's not about admin security, admin. Don't go by that word. For example, if someone is going to give me stock, there is a requirement from your client. They will come and say that I want to create a stock grant access or a stock grant role, and I want to provide access to the CEO. Who is going to be the CEO? For example, Ankit is a CEO of my company. I want to provide the stock grant access to Ankit. That means she can add or change the stock for any employee she wants if she wants. She should only have that particular access. So what they will do is they will create the stock grant security group. That is going to be user based. Because there is specifically mentioned, go by the words. There is specifically mentioned that I want only Ankit, only a specific user to have access for that particular security. If any particular user they have mentioned, that means definitely it's going to be a user-based security groups. I have mentioned, see there can only be a single HR partner. Once you are going to assign the role for a supervisor, they can only be single HR partner for that particular organization. So for that particular, I am assigning that particular HR partner for that particular role based in that supervisory organization. The moment that you are talking in termination, that comes under the business process security policy. If I am going to select all that, our partners of that tenant will get that notifications. If I don't select all, then that particular organization, HR partner, will get that termination notification. So don't confuse by that role-based with the business process security policy. That is different. We are going to deal with that as well. So don't mix role based on the business process security policy. As of now, just remember, role-based means we are going to manually assign it to the only. It will be assigned to the positions, not to the worker. User-based will be assigned to the worker. Role-based is constrained, inheritable. User-based is unconstrained and non-inheritable. Where we are going to use it, we will look into upcoming class. So just on a layman language, I can tell you constrained means I can control the inheritance and unconstrained means I cannot control the inheritance. Just remember this. Constrained means I can control the inheritance, but in unconstrained I cannot control the inheritance. It will be defined. One constraint will have access to the full tenant. Now security groups. So here we have already discussed a lot about constrained and unconstrained. I have already told you a definition. Just remember that particular stuff. Const, if anyone asked you in your interview, just straightforward, instead of going here and there, the straightforward, tell them. Constrained means I can control the inheritance and unconstrained means I cannot control the inheritance. Just note it down somewhere. Straightforward answer. Definitely, you can have it. You can if they are going into the security part. Then, definitely they can ask you this question. What is the difference between the constrained and unconstrained? Can you please give me an example of this thing? So your straightforward answer should be constrained means I can control the inheritance, but unconstrained I cannot control the inheritance. Plus, the example of the constraint is role-based security groups. The moment you say the role-based security group, unconstrained security group is user-based security group. Then let them ask the question. See the things that you seek in the interview. They will frame questions from your answers itself. The next question, you can expect it from the answer that you have given just now. So say the answer in such a way that you are confident that you can answer the next question that they are going to throw on you. For example, I know that what is, then again they were. You are talking about role-based and user-based. Then what is the difference between the role-based and the user-based security group? So they will again, you know that we have discussed all the 4 points of role-based and user-based security groups. So that's how they frame the question. So be cautious before saying anything in front of the interview because definitely their next question will be from your answer that you have to given. So constraint. When creating a security group, you can choose to whether it is constrained or unconstrained. Types of context unconstrained. All users in the security group have access to all data instances secured by the security group. This is similar to having access to all roles in a system based on traditional relational database architecture. We have already discussed it. Don't go by this much difficult definition. Just remember it inheritance and inheritance, concept of the same. Now security by functional areas. Now let's look at the security groups. So I will leave you. I will just tell you what one security group. I will take it as an example and post that you can yourself view any of the security group that you can. Now H, our partner is the security group name. See here. It's the someone has performed some action and it is going into error. Now so this is role-based security group automatically. It's constrained HR partner we are looking at the HR partner. So this is the role domain security policy permissions. That means HR partner can view the worker data or anniversaries. HR partner can view and modify the pre-hire skills and experience. Similarly, you can go by here. They can modify the name and contact information. These are all the things or domain security that an HR can do. These are the security items. He can view the compensation setup. He cannot set up the compensation. But he can view the compensation. That means he cannot set up the compensation elements. He cannot set up the rules. Implementers will have the access to even modify the compensation elements rules. Generals usually, because I know that we know that implementers, even you, also should know that if we implement us and have the configurable access. So here comes the concept domain security policy permissions, whether you can view or modify or not. Functional area score compensation. Now see here when we are going access to the organization, when we are creating the HR partner. The moment HR partner has been created, see it. We have selected that which all organization that particular security group have access to. So it applies to current organization and all subordinates. That means if I am assigning HR partner role to anyone in my supervisory organization, then it will be applicable to the current as well as to its subordinates. If I have created a security group, for example, HR partner have created, That applies to current organization only. If I selected this option, then the HR partner will have the access to only that particular current organization to which I have assigned this HR partner. So all these things, you have their own meanings, means that if I select this, it will have this particular security group will have access to this. Role has access to the positions they support. Role for the primary job has access to all the position. Role has access to all the positions. So if any multiple job workers, we are not going to deal with the multiple job workers in our core compensation class, but by default we are going to select this role has access to the positions they support. That means if I have assigned HR partner to a position, that means to all those positions, if I am going to assign the workers, all those workers will have that HR partner access. Once you will assign it in the supervisory organization, you will come to know. For example, if an organization is supporting multiple jobs, that means a person is working in 50% here and 50% he is working in some other project. So that means they are supporting the multiple positions. Now, the rest of the 50% of that position will be filled by some other person. So that is known as concurrent employment, or you are going to support the multiple job for that particular worker. So if I am going to assign an HR partner to a person and the person is working in the second position as well, that means then if I am going to select this particular job, then that means first 50% HR partner is also going to satisfy that particular role is going to suffice, and then in the next organization in which that particular worker is working, he is also going to be the HR partner. He is also going to process that role in the next organization as well. So that is what I told. Don't go by the multiple job workers or the concurrent employment. We say it as concurrent employment. That means a worker is working at two positions simultaneously, not on a single position. So just go by here. Just few. Try to open different security groups and go by their domain security policies, go by their business process security policy permissions. We are going to look now. We will go and look into that now. Coming to the security administrator, I told you that security administrator is a user-based security group. The moment I open it, you will see that it's a user-based security group. And it will have different screen. Once you will create the security groups, I will give you the assignments. Once you create the security groups, then you will have the clear picture what I am creating and what type of access that particular security group is being granted to. As we proceed, for that would be more clear to you. Starting, I know that security is little bit confusing topic. But yes, as you proceed further, you will have that clarity about it. Now user-based security group. This is something that is delivered by work. It says security administrator. So now, what does we know that? What does security administrator do? Manage all security related information, regardless of the organization. That means unconstrained. User-based security group. Now see, since it is a user-based security groups, all these members you will see here members tab, see around 2D12 members, more than 2D12 members are having access to this secure or the security administrator. That means they have to assign the roles to any organization within this tenant that I am now. I have opened in my system. If I'm also security administrator. That means I can go and assign the roles to anyone in this organization, in this tenant. Not only in Ankit of Corporation. I can assign it to any of the organization. Even I can go to the Preveen as organization and I can assign the rules. Why? Because I'm the security administrator in this tenant. I have that particular user usually in the client systems, Very restricted employees will have the security administrator group because not everyone can assign the rules. It's going to be security breach. Then anyone can do anything in the system. So that's why in user-based security, in client security is a very important part. If they have told that only this particular user needs to have this access or this particular organization, a partner is Ankit. That means it should only be Ankit. So security is the very important part, and if for security, even we used to have a different timeline to do the testing. There is an end-to-end testing for the security as well. Now see, usually security administrator have all these access. He manage organization role, integration, security roles also. He or she can modify it. Security administration, security configuration. Also they can do it. They can also add the Workday accounts. They can also create and add the Workday accounts. So all these access that security administrator have. Now how I'm going to create a security group. For example, I want to create a user-based security group that is known as Total Reward Administrator. That's the name of the security group that I have to create what it is. It is going to be user-based security group. And we need to assign this to Steve Morgan. I want to Steve Morgan to be Total Reward Administrator. Now what I will do is create security group. I will go to the start. This is the task where you can create the security group. Now what is the type of security I have to create? My client has told me that I want to create a total administrative reward administrator and I want to assign it to Steve Morgan. Now what I want to do is user-based security group. What is the security group? I am going to create sensitive training tenant. Always make it as a habit if I want to search it in future. I will add my name as a prefix to it, because anyone can create this particular security group with the same name. But I will search it with my prefix and I will find it immediately. So this is what I'm going to create. Click on. I'm going to create the user-based security group. Now, what is the coming to want to give? You can give it now administered by the security group, which all security group can administer it. So I want this to be administered by means. Who can manage this security group, particular security group? So I want security administrator to manage the person who are having the security administrator group can manage my group, can administer my group. So that is meant by this particular tab administered by the security group. If I'm going to enter it as employee, as self. For example, if I can find that particular thing employee. No, it is not there. So it is going to be mentored by administrator, by the security. If I want HR partner, an HR partner to even HR partner is also not there. If I want any group that needs to be that can manage my this user-based security group, then I can enter it here. So that is meant by administrator. By usually we enter the security administrator because also in a tenant or in an organization, security administrator is the group that usually administered or manage all the security groups. So I will click on. Now to which person I want to assign the security group. To which person I want to assign the security group. I want to assign it to Steve Morgan. Now I will go to the task. Assign user-based security group. I don't have access to that task. So here, when we go there and we have to select the person I do, since I don't have access to that particular task, I cannot assign it. In this training tenant, I don't have access. So just click on that task and assign Steve Morgan to that particular role. Now see, I have created the total reward security group. Now, did I assign that security group to any of the security item that this security group should have access to? Did I assign it? What does that security group will have access? I will assign it to the Steve Morgan. Fine, Steve Morgan will have that total reward administrator group data. Assign it to any of the item or any of the domains that particular security group should have access to. Let me say that, let me just put it in a word, initiate. That particular person should initiate the hire or that should have access to some particular report. So where I will assign that particular thing is view security. Just note down this task, we view security for security. So now what's a curable item? I don't have access to this as well. I need to work with the training team and I will just look whether how can I get these access. For example, I want to have access to the total reward. It's not given you earlier an example like I want CO2 to have to be this stock grant administrator. That means she or he can, that CEO can edit or add, remove or add the stocks from the persons, any of the person in the organization. So that I have to provide that security group access view or modified. Remember, we are modified to that particular thing, to that particular security group. So let me go to that particular task. I will tell you as well. I will go to the termination business process template, click on. I have access to it. If I have access, then it would be more clear to you guys. See now, for example, just now I have told you in concept. What I will do is my security group, total reward administrator security group that I have created should have access to the termination details domain, all that secureable item. Total and rewards them. A person who is having that total reward administrator group should have view and modify access to the termination details domain. So what I will do is I will go to the related actions. I will open that particular domain. I will go to the edit security policy permission and what they have told me is that particular security groups, total reward administrator security groups that should have the money. So I'm going to enter it here because this is the particular task that has modified access. I will enter that particular thing here, the group that I have created on Kita. Now on Kita underscore total reward administrator, the group that I have created. I have added it and I have given the modify and view access. If it has modified access, definitely I have added this group. Under which action? I have added it under the termination details. Now the person, that means the person whosoever is going to have the user, whosoever to have this on Kita total reward administrator user group will have access to the termination details. modify access to the termination details. That means now Steve Morgan can carry out the termination action and he can enter the termination details. So now that's what the agenda is for, creating the any security group. See, if you are creating any security group, it should have a proper thing. It should have a proper access. Then only we are going to send. What is Steve Morgan is going to do if he has the total administrator group? So what? My user has told that any person who is possessing that total administrator group security group should have access to modify the termination details, or they can also say that it should have access to modify or to enter the termination reasons. So you can add it based on the requirement to any of the domains that your client has told that particular security group. What access that security group will have. Now where we are going to assign it, who is going to have the access? It's Steve Morgan, because we have assigned that particular security group to the Steve Morgan. I can also assign it to Jacqueline. So Jacqueline, if I am going to assign, I'm going to click assign user base security group and I will assign it to Jacqueline. So now Jacqueline will also have the access for the modification of the termination details. So that's how we create the security group and then what that security group will be doing. We are going to define it by modifying that domain securities. Open that particular domain that your client has told that this particular security group should have access to. So that's you are going to do it via modifying the domain security policies. Open that particular domain, go to that but edit option and then click on the edit security policy permissions for that. If you are going to termination details, you are going to edit the security policy for the termination details. So here comes the question, what that security group is going to do. This is that security group is going to do. Now, who is going to do that? We have assigned it to a particular user, that is Steve Morgan. We have assigned it to a particular user, Jacqueline. So all these users will be doing it. So what and who? Now, who can edit it? Who can edit that particular domain? Then that we are going to assign it under the domain policy. Who is going to initiate that particular business process? Who is going to change the compensation? Who is going to? If it is a business process, then where you are going to define it. If it is following a business process, then where you are going to change that particular thing. You are going to change that particular thing under the business process security policies that we will look into in our upcoming classes. If anything, any security, any action that needs to be taken care on the business processes, you know that is business process, then you have to edit the business process security policies. If anything that is related to any security item, for example, any personal information change that, who can do it? Only HR partner or this particular group can do it. We are going to assign to that particular security item here under the domain security policies. So if it is anything related to business process, any security that you want to alter related to business process, you are going to do it under business process security policy. If it is related to domains or any particular item, then you are going to do it under domain security policy. So don't worry, till now we have looked into user-based security group. As we proceed further, as we do more and more activities and creations, the concept of the security group will be more clear to you by the end of the day. Once you are done with the security, you will be more clear once you assign business process security or anything. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.